Today, Dooku.
We'll take him together. You're going slowly on the left.
Taking him now!
No, Anakin, no! No!
As you see, my Jedi powers are far beyond yours.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Spalding Space here, back with another Star Wars canon novel review. So don't worry, I'm doing one more after this, and then we'll jump right back on the Legends train. So this time we're going to be reviewing Thrawn Alliances. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the book, so the picture will have to suffice. Also, something I really liked, unfortunately, it wasn't on the novel. I found it online. It was made by Disney, is this alternate photo that sort of juxtaposes the original cover, but it's not on the book, but it is really cool, and I enjoyed it. Before I get into the review, I just want to say thank you for all of my new subscribers. In case you don't know, my sister made a TikTok. I don't really do that sort of thing, but it had one of my videos in it, and I got a lot of views on my previous video. So I appreciate everybody new to the channel. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll be making more videos and incorporating Ryan into the future ones, as well as this one. Okay, enough of that. Let's jump right into the review. So first I want to make it clear there aren't going to be any spoilers in the first half of the review. I'll make it very clear when I'm going to jump into spoilers, so you are safe right now. Okay, let's contextualize where this novel takes place. Now, it actually takes place in two different eras, I should say. Half of the book is 2 years before Star Wars A New Hope. It sort of goes along the timeline that we ended in the first Thrawn book, although it takes place in the middle of Star Wars Rebels, but I'll get into that later. The second half of the novel takes place, I think, right before Revenge of the Sith. It's not entirely clear, but Anakin and Padme are together and married, so it would obviously be Attack of the Clones, but it's not really clear where it is in terms of Clone Wars or anything like that. But that's where half of the other novel takes place. Okay, so let's jump right into the characters. First, obviously, we have Thrawn, and Thrawn is always fantastic. Although he doesn't have as much time as I wish he did. The first novel, about 75% of it was just straight up Thrawn and uncovering mysteries and whatnot. This one's about 50% because Anakin and Padme and Vader take up a lot of time. And I guess I'll get into that sort of point later about the flashback scenes, but something that I just want to make clear now is that the way Timothy Zahn wrote these last two Thrawn books in this trilogy was that he wrote his character to like all of the things that are going on with Thrawn are in the middle of the show Star Wars Rebels. So in case you don't know, Star Wars Rebels is a show and Thrawn is in it. That's basically it. I haven't watched the show, but Zahn was limited by what he could do with Thrawn's character because he had to remain true to the current canon. So it really restricts what Thrawn can do. So yeah, but I'll get into that later. So you got the regular Thrawn, and then you got sort of young, strapping Thrawn in the flashbacks. Okay, next we have Darth Vader, or Anakin. So basically, traditional Darth Vader. He sort of assumes the role that Eli took in the previous novel, as sort of Thrawn's right-hand guy, although they don't get along at all. Sort of gets along when it's Thrawn and Anakin, but Thrawn and Vader is not a great sort of combination together. Something I found really funny was that Thrawn basically kind of figured out that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker and trolls him throughout the novel about it. Oh, hey, Annie.
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him.
Oh, I'm sorry. You must be Vader then. You know what's kind of funny? Remember that time when we were with Padme down at that planet? Remember that?
I've never met you.
Oh, okay. It seems a little weird, but you know what's funny is that in Chiss culture we actually call Chiss female Force sensitives Skywalkers. Okay, so that pretty much does it for the main characters. There's Padme, who plays a pretty significant role in the flashback scenes. There's Faro from the first book, and then there's also sort of a cameo from Rook. I think I'm saying that right, which doesn't really make sense in the whole story. I'll get back to that later. Okay, so that pretty much does it with the characters. So let's jump right into the plot. So basically, the Emperor senses a disturbance and sends Vader and Thrawn out to go to this planet and investigate what it is. So while all that's happening, there's a flashback sort of that juts in between every chapter or so about Anakin and Thrawn actually going to that planet. It was like 20 years ago or so, and Padme and everything like that. And basically both stories ultimately converge in the same thing and have their own revelations of what they found and uncovered. And that's basically the whole premise of everything without spoiling much. They uncover a lot of things that are, integral to both timelines, and a lot of the mystery actually does pay off. But I found myself enjoying the first part, like the current present day story, a lot more than the Clone Wars stuff. Maybe it was just because I don't like Padme. She just felt like she was always being really annoying throughout all of those scenes. But I was attached, and I really liked the narrative that was set in the first book, and it just felt interrupted so many times by everything that had to be told and all this prequel stuff. And it honestly felt like Zahn knew that he didn't have any space to write with Thrawn because he is so, narrow in terms of where Thrawn is in terms of Rebels, so he couldn't write a lot of things for him to do because has to do things in Rebels and can't contradict all that stuff. So he had to write prequel stuff to make this book long. That was my sense of it. I really didn't enjoy it. Maybe you did, but that was just my... It honestly felt like the Arinda Price scenes from the first book where the narrative would just get interrupted with a flashback. Ah, yes, Lord Vader. That actually reminds me of the time back a few years ago.
Don't go to that! Annie!
Padme, where are you? I found you. Whew.
So that's it?
Well, that's what?
That's the whole story?
Well, yeah.
And how many chapters does it actually take up?
Well, it's about 50% of the book.
I'm gonna go get captured again.
Padme? Padme! Okay, so that's pretty much all I can say about the plot without spoiling it. It's just, ultimately, this novel really falls flat, and it's so disappointing. I think one of the biggest mistakes that Zahn made while writing this novel was putting Thrawn into where Rebels is. It really, really limits everything that he can do. It makes everything in this story seem totally inconsequential, because if you've seen Rebels, now I haven't, but I have heard that this just has no bearing on that story, and even if it does, this book shouldn't require you to watch a TV show. I think that that's a huge problem when it just comes to canon novels, in general. I haven't read a lot of them. For that very reason, a lot of it just seems inconsequential. The thing about Star Wars Legends that makes it so good is that the novels are something that you can experience as an add-on and a whole new story. This just feels like something that doesn't need to be told, and they just want to sell books. The difference between this book and the first Thrawn novel is that the first Thrawn novel actually told a story, and characters like Thrawn and Eli actually had arcs. Even Arinda Price had an arc that I found interesting. Now it's just a Thrawn story, and that's interesting, but it's not great. And then half of that story is taken up by Anakin and Padme, which is fine if you're a huge fan of the Clone Wars. I haven't seen the TV show, but, it's fine. I just came here to read a sequel to a book that I really enjoyed, and this doesn't seem like a sequel at all. In fact, this whole trilogy, I wouldn't even consider a trilogy because it's not a cohesive story. The third book, as I'll get into in that other review, it sort of makes it seem like it was a trilogy, but it just, and I really love Timothy Zahn. I've read 10 of his Star Wars books. They're fantastic. I really enjoy his writing style. It just seems like he was pinned into a place and didn't really know what to do, so he filled up half of the book with stuff from the Clone Wars, and the other half, it was just sort of inconsequential stuff of a story that he really wanted to tell but couldn't. Also, something else I noticed was that there was just a lot of nods to Star Wars Rebels that I didn't understand. Also, there were sort of nods to the original Thrawn trilogy, like the character of Rook that they added. I don't know if he's in Rebels, but he was in this book, and I was so confused as to why he was in it. I hadn't read the original Thrawn trilogy yet, so I was like, who the heck is this guy, stealthing around places? I just had no clue what the heck he was doing there. So yeah, I guess rant over in terms of the plot. That was just something that I really felt like was holding this book back. Okay, but let's talk about things I like and didn't like. Obviously, I really like Zahn's writing style. Something I found interesting, although I didn't really like the scenes, is I liked how the current and the past storyline really met at the same places on the planet. So you'd be seeing a flashback in one place, and then you'd have the current place being shown in the present day. I think that that was really, really interesting, and it provided for some awesome, literary things, sure. Yeah, the pacing was done really, really well. It's just the subject matter, it wasn't for me, and it really wasn't a great sequel. Finally, something that I really, really thought was awesome, that I never knew that I needed it until I saw it, and then it was fantastic, was that Darth Vader actually has a second suit, and he brought it out and used the Force on it to make it walk over and distract a bunch of guards, and it was pretty awesome. Hey guys, it's me. I'm definitely Darth Vader. Well, I hope someone doesn't come and shoot me. Whoa, no! Ah! Okay, so that's basically everything I have to say about the novel without spoiling it. It's really just held back by its own premise, basically, and where it takes place. So I'm going to rank the book, as I do with all my books. I'm going to give Thrawn Alliances a 6.5 out of 10. It pains me to do that because I just love Thrawn and I love Timothy Zahn. It's just this book it's not even a sequel, so I don't even know why it's acting like it's a sequel. Especially compared with the original Thrawn books. I was really, really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it just wasn't as good as I hoped it was going to be. But it's not a bad book by any means. If you're interested in reading about Thrawn, I would really only suggest that you read the first one. Really, 2 and 3 aren't as great, but we'll get into the third book later. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into spoilers. So here's the spoiler section, there's your warning. So basically the huge spoiler is about this race called the Grisks. That's on the present day side, and then the past spoiler stuff is that they find some cortosis which blocks cortosis armor for clones, which basically teases Order 66. It's not a huge spoiler, it's just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I felt like since I read that much, I wish it had paid off more, but that was basically all we got. I was just glad to be done with the prequel stuff. So really the more pressing stuff has to do with the Grisks. Now, I think, again, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but the Grisks just don't matter. We know as Star Wars fans that the Grisks have no implication on any of Star Wars at all. They're not in the first 3 episodes, and they're not in the sequel trilogy, even though I don't consider that canon, but still, it still just doesn't, it holds no bearing on the story at all. So everything that we care about is just, we know it's going to be resolved, and that's why this book feels like it doesn't have weight. What made the first book, have weight is that it could go in a bunch of different directions. This one is just pigeonholed into something. So they basically find the Grisks, which are a species that are kind of like the Yusong Vong light. The Yusong Vong are the sort of antagonists in the New Jedi Order series, which I'm currently reading. So, that's it. There isn't huge spoilers. It really, really felt like, it was like, oh, the Grisks, they're really ramming it up for, whoa, the Grisks are coming, and yeah, they're kind of pathetic. Commander, we need to eliminate this Grisk threat. They're the most dangerous enemy the galaxy has ever seen.
Admiral, have you ever seen the original Star Wars movies?
No?
Yeah, the Grisks aren't in them. I think we'll be fine.
Oh. Well, am I in them?
Yeah, about that.
Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the review. I didn't really say that much on spoilers as I do as compared to my other reviews. It's just there wasn't that much to spoil in the next review. I really think that Treason is better than Alliances. That's the third book in the Thrawn trilogy that's canon. It's not really a trilogy. So that one, actually, I prefer more than this, but nothing comes close to the first Thrawn book. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support the channel's been getting, as I said before. Let me know if you want me to review any books in the future. I'm definitely open to it. I really appreciated some of the suggestions I got in the comments for the last video, so I'd really, really love to hear what you think, and I really encourage you to read the books. I saw someone commented on the last video that they were going to give it a shot and start reading into Star Wars Legends and Star Wars canon, and I think that's fantastic. If this can reach one person who wants to just go out and read a bunch of awesome books and experience a way better, trilogy and just content that Disney has to offer, then man, more power to you. I really, really hope that you enjoy, and let me know what you think, and have a good day.